All right, so I'm going to go over your homework. Before I start that, I want to kind of give you an idea of what you're going to be looking at in terms of these theorems. So we have 3 theorems that we talked about on Tuesday. It was side, 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 angle, side, angle. There is one more theorem, angle, angle, side, that I am going to talk about today. But what I want you to know is what these mean. So side, side, side means that we have 2 sets of triangles where there are matching congruent pieces on all 3 sides on both triangles. So all 3 sides match up with something on all 3 sides of another triangle. Side, angle, side is pretty similar, except instead of the 3rd side, we have a side, we have an angle, and then another side. All right, so we have a side, an angle, and another side. All right, so we have 2 sides that are congruent to 2 sides in the other triangle, and then the angle in between them is also congruent in both triangles. Next is angle, side, angle, and it's again pretty close to the last one, but now we have an angle, the side in between, and another angle. All right, so if we were to sandwich these angles together, that side that's trapped in between would be the side that's congruent. And then the last one is something we didn't talk about in the lesson the other day, but I do want to make you aware that it is a thing, and that's angle, angle, side. So it'd be an angle, we skip over a side, we have another angle, and then that next side is congruent. All right, so I just want you to be aware that that is a thing as well. So if we look at these triangles here, this first set of triangles, all we have for information is 2 of the sides being congruent. Now, if we wanted to say that these 2 triangles were congruent, we couldn't, because we would either need a 3rd side or an angle. So there's not enough information here to show that these triangles are congruent. For number 2, what's special about these triangles is that they're connected here. All right, now they share this side in the middle. Now, since they share that side, it's congruent to itself because it's the exact same side in both triangles. It's just shared. So anything that's shared, whether it be a side or an angle in both of the triangles, is considered congruent because it is itself. So by this, we could then say that these triangles are congruent by side, 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 because they both have 3 sides that are congruent to the 3 sides in the other triangle. All right, now this next one, what we first want to look at is if there are any things that are congruent that aren't marked as congruent. All right, so we have here vertical angles in the middle. So these vertical angles are right here. All right, and those are congruent because they are those angles across from each other when straight lines cross. All right, now this is the theorem that I said that you didn't see the last class, so it's okay if you put no here because technically you didn't know about it. But these are technically congruent triangles because they follow the angle, the next angle, and then the side. So again, the angle, the next angle, and then the side. All right, so these I'd accept either no or yes by angle, angle, side. Again, 2 different answers here that I'm okay with. All right, this next one, we have, again, vertical angles in the middle here. All right, and they're both right angles, fun fact. So now we're going to follow our map and see what we have. So we have a side, an angle, and a side. All right, so we follow right in that pattern. So we just track what we have. We have a side congruent, we have an angle congruent, and then another side congruent. And if you look, that's one of our theorems here. We have a side, angle, side. So these would be congruent by side, angle, side. All right, and then lastly here, we do have 2 triangles being congruent by side, 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 because you'll see that we have 3 sets of sides that match up in each of these triangles. So this will be side, side, side. All right, so let's look at this next page, and now we need to determine what needs to be congruent for us to say that these 2 triangles are congruent by the reason that they gave us. So this one is side, angle, side. So let's see what we have. We have a side. The next thing is an angle. So we have that, we have that. We need a side, and it needs to be that very next side that comes off of this angle. So I'm going to say that LM needs to be congruent to, let's see what in the other triangle. So again, I have my side, my angle, and then it would need to be this very next side. So VW. So again, when we look at these, we look at them in order as a map, and we want to kind of use that theorem to help us figure out. All right, now this next one, we do have this shared side again, so we know these sides are congruent. So we have an angle, a side, and then we need this next angle. All right, so we have the angle, we have the side, we need that next angle. So I'm going to say angle RTU. So RTU, this angle right here, is congruent to angle. All right, let's look at this next triangle. We have our angle, side, so we need this angle as well. So it'd be angle VTU. All right, and the reason I have to use 3 letters there is because we have multiple angles at angle T. All right, this next one, we again have vertical angles. Whoops. So I can say that these angles around Q are congruent to each other because they are vertical angles. So now let's look at my pattern here. I have a side, an angle, and then I need that very next side. So I would need to say that QH is congruent to, let's look at the next triangle. I have a side, an angle, and I need that very next side. So QP. All right, and that would make it side, angle, side. All right, now this next one, you guys should get this one pretty well. It's side, side, side. So we have the 2 sides are congruent. We need that third set of sides to be congruent as well. So I'm going to say that TV needs to be congruent to GE. All right, and that's just, we had to say those last 2 sides are congruent to each other. All right, and then lastly, we have angle, side, angle. Again, we have vertical angles here, so I'm going to mark those off as being congruent. And we're going to look at what we're missing. We have an angle, an angle. Well, we need that side that's in between. So we need this side to be congruent. So SK to be congruent to, and again, we have an angle, we need that side in between them. So JK. All right, we'll work more on this tomorrow, but I wanted to give you kind of a brief overview of the homework.